can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face.
Oh, from Brooklyn.
Hey, get any.
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
What's up, everybody? It's another episode of Coast to Coast, a Friday edition. TGIF to everybody out there. I am your host, Pags. I've got Bo with me. Everybody else is everybody else somewhere else. So
exactly.
Yeah, so hopefully people will start coming back as of next week. We will see. But everything is doing well with everybody else. I'm sure that they are doing better. It's just that they're not here today.
Yep.
How are you doing, Bo?
Doing good. I'm glad it's Friday. It's been an interesting week, so just ready to wrap this one up. How about you?
You know what? I kind of feel the same way. I yesterday was like, the Masters are on. Let's watch a touch of golf just because there's a touch of golf on. And I love it when the asshole is winning.
Sure.
You know, and DeChambeau, I hope he goes wire to wire. Just to piss everybody off. This guy, nobody likes him. And, I understand that because, listen, in Philly, no one likes us and we don't care. That's kind of the same motto I've got with him. Like, hey, listen, no one likes him. I'm sure he don't care, and I hope he wins. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, kind of like our hater show, right? Like, bring the heat, right? Like it doesn't matter.
Exactly. And does it make I mean, I don't know how much golf you actually watch. I watch
very
little to none.
Yeah, very little.
So, do you think it's a big deal with the US PGA, the PGA, and the LIV competing against one another? Do you think that that's like a mess?
Yeah, I mean, they look determined to make it a mess. It seems like there's plenty of ways that it could have worked, and they decided to do none of those things and just make it a complete cluster. So do I think at some point they get it figured out? They probably have to, right? But
do they have to?
I mean, you would think so. Because the pockets in the LIV, are deep.
Well, I understand that part, but I mean, let's face it, the PGA ain't broke either.
They're not, but they're not oil money rich either.
Right.
So, I mean, if they wanted to come out and just buy talent, they have the pocketbook to do it. So, I mean, even if they just wanted to just crush the PGA, like, hey, we're just going to overpay every star ever and just bury this thing. They got the money to do it.
They do have the money to do it. It's funny how they've only gotten so many of them. There's only a couple that have really gone over there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just all it means is that the offer hasn't been high enough.
I agree.
That's really all it means. Yeah, all of a sudden you add another zero, everybody's headed, right?
Are they? I mean, because they said
like there's
they offered a few people like $50 million, and they said nope, not doing it, not playing that card.
That makes sense though, because when you look at some of the endorsement contracts from Nike and Top Flight and stuff like this, some of those endorsement contracts would be close to that, right? So you'd have to all of a sudden start getting into the 100 million, where that was, that's Tiger Woods type territory at that point, right? Then all of a sudden you start seeing a lot of your mid-level guys saying, $100 million, pretty sweet.
Yeah, I would take the fight out of me.
Yeah.
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 I mean, let's face it, 40 million would take the fight out of me a little bit.
Well, but if your current setup has you in the ballpark, you probably wouldn't, right? Like if you've been playing a long time, your current endorsement deals and contracts and everything are in the neighborhood, right? Say it's a raise, but it's not impressive.
If you were making 25 million a year, now you're going to make 40.
Yeah, well, but you got to do all the relocating and deal with all of that, right? And switch tours, and there's some
no taxes. That's a big one.
Well, I mean, you're still a U.S. citizen, so you still have to pay taxes. Is the thing?
Not if you're living overseas.
Yeah, you still have to do some stuff, because we did even in Mexico, right? Like there's elements of it that you still have to do. So yeah, I mean, I think now if it was that'd be an extra 15 mil. Obviously, it'd be enticing, right? Because we haven't. I mean, I can't speak for you, but I haven't made that kind of money. So, right. So,
yeah, 50,000 might get me to move. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. So it's, so it's a different animal. But if you got somebody that's been coming through the PGA, and they have been for a long time, and they've had multiple contracts where they've, been in that 20 million, 25, $30 million range, right? And then someone's like, yeah, we'll give you 40. That 10 mil may not move the needle for you, right? That would be like your competitor saying, hey, I'll give you $1.50 more an hour to come over here. You might do it, but they're also going to be like, oh yeah, but you have to move over here. It's not ideal. We're going to use a system you're not familiar with. Be like, maybe $1.50 is not worth it, right? So scale wise, maybe it doesn't make sense. But if you're making 25 mil and they're like, hey, we'll give you $100 million. You're like, cool, I will learn new things.
No drinking over there.
Yeah, but I mean, airplanes exist, and flights are cheap when you have $100 million.
Well, they seem cheaper. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I get it. Somebody who I think could probably use a good $40 million is Ippei Mitsuhara.
This guy.
Yeah, well, besides both of us, besides going this way, it's like, yeah, there is somebody else who could definitely use a good $40 million, and that's Ippei Mitsuhara. And it's looking more and more like I don't know. I feel like the more outlandish this becomes,
Mm-hmm.
the bigger the ridiculousness is of hiding it.
Well, especially now that we're talking $180 million.
Correct.
Like there is a snowball's chance in hell that Ohtani didn't know something. I mean, You're talking almost $200 million worth of, like, there's no way you didn't get an alert on your phone at some point saying, hey, is this okay? Like it, because I don't care how many millions of dollars you have, you'll notice $200 million. Like, I feel like that makes a dent. Even as a billionaire, I feel like that's not a rounding error anymore. That's not, $3-4 million. That's whoa, where did that go?
So I mean, I how often do you check your bank account?
So to be fair, I have owned multiple businesses. And so I have had company cards stolen from people that worked at vendors. So I actually look more than most people do, only because I got in the habit of doing it, because every couple years I'd have to go through some sort of fraud protection because, all of a sudden one of my business cards would go on vacation without me.
And business cards are a worst case scenario because banks don't recover money for business cards.
So they do.
Some of them do. Some of them do not.
Yes, true. So
It's not.
fortunately,
They're not. Bank is not required.
yeah. So for me, I've been fortunate enough that I've had the type of accounts, and I've done the steps that they want you to do to make it so that those things are recoverable. So fortunately, I've been made whole each time. I have alerts, so it's one of those, like, soon as it's outside of where it is it should be, I get a phone call and they'll shut the card down. So it's not even like it's been crazy amounts of money any of the times that it's happened. But yeah, I mean, you do got to make some steps for sure.
Right. So, and ultimately, it's like, I mean,
but I was getting
most
phone calls
people
at like a few $100 or $1,000
most people don't check their accounts that very often.
for sure.
And I know I've been in that situation as well. I also have owned a few businesses and have gotten beaten a few times. So I know that I always check, like once every 2-3 days, just to make sure.
Yep.
You never know what's going to occur. Damn, excuse me. You never know what's going to occur. But imagine play baseball every day and like, yeah, I mean, I've got millions of dollars in the account. Anytime I use my card is going to work. So
Sure.
I can't imagine, like, hey, even if I'm spending $20,000 on a dinner or something, that card's going to work because I got the money in the account.
Sure.
And yeah, you could play games or whatever and stuff like that, but once you get into the $40 million range,
Again, I don't think that's a rounding error anymore. That's not like, oh, I didn't remember buying that pizza. That is, wait a minute.
It's a whole lot of pizza.
Right? Yeah. I mean, that's, because even if you're talking, say you're a billionaire, right? And all of a sudden you have these gambling transactions to the tune of $180 million. Well, that is almost 20% of that net worth, right? I mean, and I don't think Ohtani has that liquid. So, maybe he does. I don't know. But the odds seem low. So, I mean, it's I feel like those kind of transactions are a big enough percentage of what he probably has in the bank that at some point you had to know something.
Here's
now, whether or not you're involved, who knows, right? And we're never going to know, really. But I find it incredibly hard to believe that no knowledge was had.
Listen, you are always, if your guy, the best friend, the guy that you are living with, and having him communicate all of these different things and stuff like that, is losing bets and stuff, I'd be willing to bet that he's having this conversation with you.
No
that
doubt.
This had to be put in place. This stuff had to be put in place. This is like, okay, if we ever get caught, you're going to get deported.
Yeah. Now,
that's ultimately what's going to happen here. But they're talking about bank fraud. I mean, that's 30 years in prison.
Yeah, well, and that's federal prison too. So
yeah,
that's not even
no
like
joke.
A county lockup where you're still going to be, watching TV, whatever. Like that's a federal pen.
So the moment that starts to get into play and really into play, and I'm not sure how close it is to being truly into play, because they're talking federal bank fraud is like, that's a monster thing.
Well, and especially in that scenario, because it doesn't matter if Ohtani presses charges or not, because now you're playing with the bank. Ohtani's not in that mix anymore.
Is this a move by whoever, the DA's office, the feds, or whatever, to actually get to the bottom of this? It's one thing to say, hey, EP, you're going to wind up having to go back home and yeah, blah, 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 blah. But, the moment that now all of a sudden you're going to you got 30 years on the table where you're going to go to jail for 30 years, he knew everything.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You're rolling for sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I gotta let the cat out of the bag. I said I would do this. You're right. I ain't got the money. I never had the money. He knew about everything. I was making these bets for him.
Yeah.
Ultimately, at least at that point, even if it's a lie,
Sure. Yeah,
you're gonna go that route
you're
because
not trying to go to legit prison for 30 years.
yeah, like hey, listen,
I mean, it'll be
let's
the white collar side of it, but you're
it
not
becomes the beach ball. It becomes the beach ball at a stadium situation. You know what I mean? Never know where it's going to land. Just bop it back up in the air
Yep.
and hope it doesn't come near you again. And
Right.
that's ultimately, he's got a small stadium at this point. You know what I mean? It's getting closer and closer to, being like, hey, we're playing volleyball with each other and hopefully
Exactly.
I can start. So this is far, far from over. And we're going to see a lot more
Absolutely.
um, tonight. A lot more tonight. So I think it's much more to come on this story. I don't think there's any chance that Ipe does 30 years at all.
No,
And if less there's an absolute way that says, hey, Ipe, we're just you're going to plead to a lesser deal. You're going to get out of here. It's going to cost you some money, which I'm going to slide to you on the side. And we're going to call it, that you're still going to be my best friend. You know
yeah,
what I
no,
mean?
ultimately, you have to assume that's how it's going down, right? Like they are doing everything they can to absolve Otani from any wrongdoing. They've been talking about there was no gambling on baseball directly, which, okay, maybe. So now it's okay, let's get the actual prison off the table. Let's do a large fine and a deportation. I imagine that's probably how it's going to go down. That way, baseball can keep Otani out there, and they hope that whatever the next story is in the pipeline will overshadow it, and they'll move on.
Yeah, and in the process, his new interpreter is also his, you know,
Gambling manager.
yeah, the manager, is also his, psychiatrist to stop him from gambling. Yeah, I think it's, I think that they are. I think he's guilty. I think he's guilty of sin. I don't care. You know what I mean? It's just like, and not that I have any skin in this game. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
But this will affect baseball in a big, big way.
Yeah. No, I mean, again, it just has to do with the dollar figures, right? I mean, if it was 10 grand, I have no doubt in my mind he wouldn't know, right? That would be like you losing $10. Are you going to notice that? Probably not, right?
Oh, I would notice it, but I'd be looking for it everywhere. That's just me because hey, I'm like I had $10 in my pocket. What happened to it? Did I have a drink? Did I tip it? Did I do like I would
Yeah.
start
Well,
funding? I'd go back in my
it
head and be like, all right,
it would be more of a $10 in your bank account. So you're not directly putting your hand on it all the time, right? Like if you had $10 missing from your bank account, you'd be like even if you noticed it, you'd probably just be like, man, like I don't remember doing that, but it's $10. And I mean, maybe I bought a beer somewhere. And, so like if it was 10 grand, I could get into it, right? Being a multimillionaire, sure. Right. You probably that could be that rounding error for you.
right.
But when we're talking of 40 million in losses and 180 million in bets, yeah, there's just no way in hell.
No, James, I don't know enough about UFOs and aliens. Yeah, go watch TikTok, and there's a great guy who talks about all that stuff. When you start talking about the Anunnaki and stuff like that, go there. This isn't the same. We're not the same coast to coast as those guys are. But I appreciate you offering. Thank you. See, the fact that I even knew about the Anunnaki means that I spend too much time on TikTok talking about that and Toth and Ra and yeah. Oh man, it's like so. Yeah, I am that type of conspiracy theorist that aliens walk among us and that when there's a lot of gambling debt to be had, there's more than one person doing the gambling.
Have that where'd the money go on Amazon? Yeah, so that makes sense. Never wine in Prime. That's the key, right? Like that's I've told my wife that many times. Like, don't drink in Prime.
Yep. So yeah, thank God I don't have Amazon Prime come to me ever.
Yeah,
You know, I had today is the opening day for the Phillies City Connect jerseys, and instead of working out, having maybe the makeup delivered to me by Prime or stuff like that, I went out and bought it. So I actually had to get up in the morning, go to the store and buy it before this show, which is why I was a little late getting the code out this morning.
I got you.
So because I had to buy new makeup today because the new jerseys are out, and whether or not you like them or not, it's they're here.
Yeah,
for this year.
Yeah, that works. Now, like for me, I'm the other end of it. I like Amazon because I know exactly what I want. I hate shopping, so it's point click, I'm done, and then it shows up, whenever it is I need it. But yeah, every time I'm driving to the store, I'm sitting in traffic. I'm like, I already hate this, and then I get in there, and inevitably the line's going to be long, and they probably only have half of what I needed anyway, and I'm just like, why did I do this?
Right. I actually like going food shopping. I don't necessarily like going shopping.
Yeah, food
but
shopping,
they have.
I want to pick my own vegetables and fruit.
Yes. Uh, but I'm one of those guys that likes to walk up and down the aisle. I want to see certain things. Sometimes I'm in the mood for something. Sometimes I'm not. That's whatever. You know what I mean? But
no. When it comes to food shopping, I'm with it. I don't like to outsource someone else picking my fruit because inevitably it's always the stuff that somebody drugged down the aisle, beat the hell out of, and I'm not into that. But when it comes to when I replaced my microphone here, right? I ordered that on Amazon. I didn't go down to Guitar Center or wherever, waste 40 minutes driving there, and then a half hour in there trying to find exactly what I wanted, and another 40 minutes home. I went point click, and when it came in, I put it on.
And there you have it.
So it just depends on the type of shopping. Like if it's for inanimate objects, I just assume Amazon it, whatever. But if it's food, I'm going to the store.
Gotcha. So what's up, Robert? Hey, listen, your team didn't lose last night, so that was good for you.
I mean, they didn't play, but yeah. Actually, most of the league didn't play yesterday. I think there was only 5 games.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, because 2 games were suspended. There was only 5 games that actually played. One of them being the Phillies, which they won.
Yeah, and the A's won. The A's won. The lowly A's took down the Rangers.
1-0.
1-0.
That must have been a battle. Yeah. And then the Mets also smoked the Braves 16-4. How about that? And just for everything else, the Flyers, who couldn't win a game in the last 8 games, decided to beat the best team in the league.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that way when they miss the playoffs, be like, look,
which pissed me off. Pissed me off to no end. I'm like, this is real. Like, all they would have needed to do is win 2 games, or 2 more overtime losses.
Yeah.
This team angers me.
How was the suite, Rob? Got to hang out in the suite. Unfortunately, we lost yesterday, but
but
if you're going to be there for an L, being in the suite is always a good place to do it.
Yeah, and they lost to the Sharks, which is another team that really stinks out loud too. So, so awesome. That was good for you guys. It was close for the first half of the game. 1-1. That's not bad. And then Actually, and they shot pretty well. I mean, they shot 50 shots on net just about. So that means they just were throwing it at the goaltender, and
Yeah.
the goaltender was stopping them. There you
Yeah.
go.
Watching a game from a suite, though, always awesome. Can never go
Yeah,
wrong with that.
going to the suite is always sweet.
Yep. Especially if it's one of the ones that's fully catered. It's the best.
Yeah, exactly. Free food and free alcohol.
Yep. Yeah. No.
Always.
Years ago, I got to do the Nintendo Suite owner's box at whatever we're calling it, at T-Mobile, right? Mariners Ballpark, and that was awesome. Naturally, we did not win that game, but it didn't matter because we had plenty of beer and so much food.
Were you guys playing the Wii in the suite?
I wasn't. I was actually watching the game. Probably should have been, playing the Wii.
Because you're not going there to, like, me personally, if I was there with the Nintendo crew,
Yep.
I wouldn't be going there to watch the game. There, I'm actually going there to, to figure out who I am trying to talk to make sure that I can get back in there again.
Well, so I had an in for that one because a friend of mine was part of the management crew at Nintendo. So she was able to just take me. And so that wasn't, that part of it wasn't, too hard. But
All right, well, perfect. Then they should be our next sponsor. So Nintendo, I will start tagging you. Nintendo, we are looking.
Sadly,
You could have us. You could have us as we'll put up ourselves as Nintendo figures.
Now, sadly, she hasn't worked there in a long time. But
That's a bummer.
But it was a cool place it was a cool spot to watch the game.
Yeah. So they had to dump. There we go. They had to get everything cleared. So yeah, I like that. Hey, listen, anytime they want to get rid of beer, I'm always available.
Right?
I may not be able to be face painted while I'm drinking, but that's okay.
You can forego the paint for some beer.
Well, I'd like to do it one way or the other. I don't like to be in paint and drinking at a game. So I try my best to not do any of that. So, but yeah, so the Phillies won, the Flyers won, and Seattle only lost one game yesterday. So they're doing great.
Yeah. I mean, at least for us, the Kraken have been out of it for a while. They didn't go out of their way to miss.
No. And I got to imagine that if you're still getting about 10,000 people in that stadium right now, that's a win.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is one thing that, Seattle sports fans are good about is even if the teams aren't performing, they still show up to games. Like, are you going to make it to a Mariners game when it's a 1:00 midweek, like 1:00 on a Thursday or something? Yeah. I mean, attendance is going to be a little light on a day like that where it's, probably the roof is closed. It's a little bit windy. The team isn't playing well. It's middle of the week, middle of the day. Yeah. The attendance on that day is probably going to be low, but if you get out there on a Saturday, even if they're not playing great, there's still going to be a lot of people in the stands.
Understood. And as I'm sitting here and I'm looking, today is actually a very busy day because the Sixers are playing tonight, and the 6th seed is on the line. And if by chance the Sixers win tonight and the Indiana Pacers lose to the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Sixers will take over the number 6 seed, which is very important for a lot of reasons. One, right now the Sixers are in the 7th seed, and they would host the 7-8 game, which is against the Miami Heat. Now, nothing against the Miami Heat, but for some reason or another, when it comes to playoff style games, they win those games, and they beat the Sixers. Jimmy Buckets takes it on his back specifically. If the Sixers wind up in the 8th seed, that means they have to play. If they win, they'll have to play the Boston Celtics right away, which is, I know we're only playing the Magic tonight. And if we beat the Magic and the Pacers lose to Cleveland, we take over the number 6 seed,
Mm.
as I explained. So, but yeah, you can't be the number 8 seed for the Sixers and go up against the Celtics right away. You have to get in the 7 or 6 seed. I'd rather not play in the play-in game against the Heat. I would rather be in the 6 seed and have the Heat play against the Pacers in the 7 seed. And then us go up against the Knicks or right now the reeling Bucks, which keep losing games left and right now. So their new coach, Doc Rivers, is just having a blast over there. It's amazing some of the things that have happened. I think they are on they won 2 in a row, but they were like on a 4-game losing streak before then. So I am really excited. I would love to go up against Doc Rivers and the Bucks in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I would love. So that means the Knicks would actually have to, grab. I mean, they are 1 game out, so the Knicks are 1 game away from the Bucks. Everybody is far and away gone from the Celtics. Yeah, so the Celtics have got the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. That's already locked up. But the difference between 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, the difference between 2 and 6 is only 3 games. Now, I know there ain't a lot of games left, so there's not going to be a lot of movement, but hey, the Bucks lose and the Knicks win. All of a sudden, the Knicks got the number 2 seed, and we got the Bucks in the first round of the playoffs. I think they're going to be very unhappy about that. So, be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. I know that nobody in Seattle cares about any of this, so that's why I'm just talking about it out loud. Because I know Robert is all super excited for the Western Conference, and that OKC is probably going to wind up with the number 2 or 3 seed. And I know that he's super excited that he wishes that they were still in Seattle.
I mean, he's not alone. Like I wish we still had our team too. That's why I keep looking forward to the end of this TV contract, right? Is let's try and get a team back here. Now, of course, this commissioner is not that much different than the last one, and continually like to shortchange Seattle. So it wouldn't shock me if they somehow snub Seattle yet again.
Well, I mean, it's a matter of how quickly do they want Vegas in here.
Oh, no. I just mean it would be Vegas, and maybe they land it somewhere else just to give the Northwest the middle finger one more time.
Yeah, they put them in the Eastern Conference. We do like Vegas and Portland, Maine.
Exactly.
A town of like 8,000 people. The city of 8,000 people get their own basketball team.
Yep. Yeah, it'll be like Nova Scotia or something. Something just really.
Or worse yet, how about Vancouver?
See, that would be messed up. That would be messed up. But I wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't rule it out.
Yeah, put another team in Vancouver and be like, hey guys, sorry, Seattle just doesn't cut it. We want to move it up, above the border.
That's right. We wanted another Canadian team. Here we go.
That or Quebec. Yeah, just what you need is a French-speaking team.
Yes.
That's. I don't see that happening either. So.
No,
I think you are in pretty good shape. That Seattle will pretty soon have another team, playing basketball in the NBA coming shortly. I could almost guarantee it. Of course, I'm not owner or anything, but more in the news. Tom Brady, part owner of the Raiders, is considering a comeback. Now,
sure.
There are a few things that I think about when I think of this. You saw him after football when he stopped doing the things he was doing, and he looks physically smaller now. as would be expected. I'd expect him to be smaller. You know what I mean? Because he's not doing the things he was doing before. Was very well regimented. He was very meticulous with his workout routine and his eating routine and things like that. And that kept a certain level of him available.
Mhm.
When you stop that and you start to get small and you start to shrink, it ain't easy enough to just be like, okay, we're going to get right back into the routine and start it back up again and hope that it all works out that way.
Yeah.
It's much, much harder. And let's face it, he's closer to our age than anyone else's age. You know what I mean? Than the guys that are playing in the NFL.
Oh, absolutely.
So what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on him coming back into the NFL?
I don't think he does it. That's just one of the keep me in the headlines kind of things. Because I mean, he would have to go somewhere that has a great defense, a great offensive line, and then he'll need a good tight end, an above average tight end, and and a couple of weapons. And then, like to your point, he would have to really get in on his training. I mean, to be able to be ready in time to not get hurt. So I don't really think it's a thing. I think it's just one of those, like if somebody were to call him late in the year, right? Like if he was behind the scenes, hey, I'm throwing my hat in the ring. If someone gets hurt, give me a call. I could see him do something like that, but I don't see him like full on coming back as QB1.
Well, I mean, I think, where is it? Brad says it up here, and I know that there was somebody else who had mentioned it as well. Probably was Brad. Brad likes to get in very early on some of these things. Yeah, it was Brad. That Brad was like saying, hey, he's only going to go to the Patriots, who need a quarterback,
They
the
need
49ers,
a lot of stuff though.
who don't need a quarterback,
Correct.
and the Raiders, who probably could use a quarterback, but don't, again, like I could see him being the Raiders because he owns a portion of that Raiders team now.
Well, but see, the thing is you can't. So he'd have to give up ownership of that team to be able to come back and play. You can't be part of an ownership group. You can be part of an owner in a different sport, but you can't. The NFL, you can't.
But hold on. You wouldn't be able to be part owner of the Raiders and play on the Raiders?
The way I understand it, that's correct.
I don't
Now,
know
if
that
somebody's
that's
watching
true.
that knows that better than me, feel free to jump in. But from what I understand, you can't be an owner and a player.
You be a part owner
And that doesn't matter if you're
and
playing for your
a
own team
player.
or if you're playing for a different team.
A player owner may not be tradable unless the player agrees to sell his stake.
Oh, so you can only play for your own team.
Correct.
Gotcha.
If you are playing, if you are on another team, you cannot
Purchase.
be an owner of, he can only. All
Only
right, so here it is. So Brady would need 24 votes to be an owner, and then he would need 24 votes to be a player. So it would have to be voted on by the ownership group. Now,
I don't see that being a thing.
yeah, I mean, how are you, if you were an ownership group, if you owned another team?
There's
And
no
then,
way people are voting you to go play for another team.
right.
And
Yeah.
the other team wouldn't want you there anyway. Because
That's part of the reason.
Interest.
That's part of the reason. Why would I want you to even?
Yeah, because
I don't want you to play against me.
Every bad game you have, right? They'd be like, "Oh, did you throw that game because you have more interest in the team you own?"
Yeah, well, that's if you played against the Raiders, and stuff like that. But I'm talking about how, even if you were the owner,
Mhm.
Like you got voted in as the ownership, and then says, "Hey, I want to play," and the ownership says, "Oh, all right, we don't care." I mean, ultimately, you could probably make the case if you're Tom Brady,
For
you
your
know.
own team, yes. Yeah.
But if I was the Kansas City Chiefs, would I want Tom Brady to play on the Oakland Raiders?
Yeah, I'd be trying to block that.
Yeah. So would the Denver Broncos. So would the LA Chargers.
Absolutely.
So, and probably so would the New England Patriots. And probably so would Tampa Bay.
Yeah. And any of their, ownership friends that, maybe don't have a horse in the race, but they're like, you know what? I'm friends with the owner of the Chargers. He doesn't want him to come back. I don't really care, but I'll support my friend. Like, I think it'd be really hard for him to actually get those kind of votes.
Right. And you never know how inflated his balls are going to be.
That's right.
You know.
The older he gets, the softer they are.
But I mean, I thought about this. It's like, I understood why he retired when he did because he had a new girlfriend. And new girlfriends take time. They take time. They want time. You know what I mean? And let's face it, she was half his age, just about. So no, no, trust me, he just because he lost Giselle does not mean that he wasn't. His girlfriend was like 24 years old. And a smoke show. Let's face it, it's still Tom Brady. You know, just the fact that he's just saying, "Hi, I'm Tom Brady." The fact that he's got all that, you know, the looks and the money and all that other stuff doesn't matter. You know what I mean? He's just like, "Hey, I'm Tom Brady. 6 rings, 7 rings."
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Do you want to expand your career? It's probably good to be sleeping with me.
Yeah, that's right. 7 rings worth, $500 million or more. Yeah.
I'm able to collect alimony from my wife, my ex-wife.
Yeah. Who's a billionaire.
Yeah, exactly. Like, hey, you know, that's I dig that. I dig all of that. So, I think he'll play again? No. Yeah, I think it's a ridiculous thought process. And what bothers me is why is he doing this? Why now all of a sudden talking about this again? You know, is
Slow news cycle. That's really what it is, right? Because I mean, outside of that, it's not like there's not a ton going on at this point. So, NFL trying to stay relevant 2 weeks ahead of the draft. And, the only things you're hearing about are bad things, right? Like you're hearing about Ricardo Lockett, and he's in the news for I have it saved. Hold on, it let's see, did I lose it? Oh, maybe I lost it. I had it on my phone, but looks like maybe I misplaced the article. But in any event, he's in trouble with the law, and there seems to be a lot of that this time of year. Because not only is it a slow news cycle for us, but it's a slow action cycle for the players, and that allows them to get in trouble.
exactly. Yeah, as I'm looking at all the news has to do with mock draft 6.0 and Rashi Rice giving
Oh yeah,
himself up. Finally. You know what I mean? Like it's and of course OJ, and what I laugh about OJ's passing, and it's not funny, but what I laugh about is the fact that people who had no idea, like kids and just Twitter. Twitter is a shit show. is a complete and utter shit show.
Sure.
And anybody who was not old enough to remember the murder in general should not even talk about it.
I mean,
But
true.
but they are. And there's lots of people talking about it. And it's ridiculous. So well, yeah, he's gone. You know what? Kansas City is. You want to talk about shit shows? Kansas City is one. That whole franchise. I mean, think about this. I mean, obviously, you have Reed's son a couple years ago. And wasn't there another coach last year that had similar situation go on? Did something wrong, and then you got Rashee Rice. I mean, it's like every year they've got something going on that's just. And then you have Travis Kelsey, one of America's darlings at the moment, goes and gets his degree and chugs a beer.
Right. Yep.
I don't tell anybody how to live their life, but dude, really? I mean, not for nothing. I mean, I feel like you just made an ass out of that school.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like that's what you did. I mean, maybe you made it considered it a party school now. Like that's maybe you put it on that type of map. Like, hey, I want to go to Cincinnati because we want to fight for our right to party. If I could chug a beer when I go to get my diploma, that might be something I'm into.
Yeah. I mean, it might have just been to make it so that the cameras are on you, right? Because outside of that, we wouldn't be talking about it.
Would we not?
Probably
Would
not.
we not?
Listen,
I disagree with that statement.
It might get mentioned that he finished school like that, but it'll get mentioned exactly like that. Oh, he went and got his degree. Good on him. Cool. And you keep it moving. But now there's video of him smashing a beer on stage, grabbing his diploma. That's going to hit the cycle, right? Like everybody's going to talk about that.
Yeah, it does, including his girlfriend, who probably said, "You're an ass."
Yeah, probably.
And the fact that it took you, and the fact that it took you 8 years after you left school to finally get your diploma.
I mean, that's that's the Tommy boy, right? Lots of people go to school for 7 years. Yeah, they're called doctors. So, yeah.
Yeah, he's not ever going to be confused with a doctor.
Yeah, well, and it's funny because his girlfriend, if she was mad, was probably more on the "I would expect this out of your brother."
Maybe. We'll see the scene at Citizens Bank Park with the New Jersey. Well, Ken, you will. You will see me at the ballpark today in a City Connect jersey. What will my face paint look like? You'll have to wait to see. That's a teaser if there ever was one.
That's right.
So, yeah, Brad, them signing Uzma is about moving my needle as much as, yeah, that's, you got it. At least you had me mention it there for you. So, because a second tight end is not doing anything for me. As far as what I think that the Eagles will pick in the draft, I think, I hope they go offensive line. I hope they do. That's what I want them to choose. But we will see. They may go defensive line. They like to do defense in the first round. So we will see. So.
Well, and of course, Brad, he's going to like that the Phillies won because that, with our talking of the Mariners and the Phillies, he needs all the wins.
Well, I am now a game and a half up on Robert and my pizza.
That's right.
So I have no doubt in my mind that number is only going to continue to grow. And we will have a pizza ceremony in August when I come out there.
That's right.
So at least I hope so. Time to make something happen.
I mean, based on how the Mariners have started, you definitely hope so.
Yeah, because if that means the Phillies would have something really bad have happened to them, and I don't think that's going to occur.
Yeah,
Yeah,
y'all
we
would have had
just
to fall off a cliff.
yeah. I mean, the Pirates are playing pretty good ball right now, but
Yes,
they weren't
they always
playing
do
good enough
early.
yesterday.
The Pirates play good early. It's
Yeah, that's
they just kind of fall, and it's funny because it's not like they fall apart overnight, right? Like they just kind of slow down. So it's not even like you get a lot of talk shows talking about them like, oh, all of a sudden they just fell apart. It's just all of a sudden they don't get any more airtime. It's just like, oh, they went from winning 2 of 3 to going 2-2 to now they're 2-3, and they just kind of like fade away instead of like, oh, they were playing good and then they just fall apart. Like they just fizzle.
yeah. The Cubs are actually a pretty decent team. I wouldn't suspect that you're going to win 2 or 3. You might get a win in that series.
Yeah, sadly that's probably true.
And the Phillies are going to be right behind the Braves all season long. So I'm not really concerned about that either. Um, Crosby,
The Mets beat the brakes off the Braves
yeah, every dog's got their day every once in a while,
for sure, for sure.
and that was
The
the
number that I saw was crazy though.
16-4.
Yeah,
Yeah, I saw that as well. I was like, hey, how about that? That's 16-4. That's a big win for them. Uh, I didn't get to see how they scored the 16 runs. Okay, so the first 3 innings and the last 3 innings, they went 1-2-4, 0-0-0, 3-2-4.
yeah.
So, and who was their pitcher who got the win for the Mets? Quintana. Okay, that was nice of them. Good work, Mets. You guys won
Right.
a game. Very nice. So excited for you guys.
Yeah, well, it's always funny when you watch stuff like that, especially for a team that isn't generally all that great. It's like, you could spread some of those runs out over multiple games and actually get some dubs.
That's not the Mets.
It's not the Mets, but when you look at the differential at the end of the year, they'll have a couple of these. So you're like, I mean, they were probably really in some of these games. And then you see a 16-point, stack on someone. You're like, oh no, they kind of weren't in any games. They just had a couple of big games for no reason.
Correct. Yeah, I think that the Mets are going to wind up at under 500, just under 500. They're going to be like 80 and 82. And they're going to have the chance to actually go 500 at the end of the season, and they're going to Mets that up too.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Final game, they could go 500, and then they just tank.
Right.
I could see that.
Yeah, they're the Mets. So the Mets are perfect at Metsing it up. Very good. So, I'm okay with that. I love. In fact, I saw somebody yesterday who wanted to take a picture with me, and they go, "You're not going to like the team I'm a fan of." I was like, "Oh, you're a Mets fan?" And she's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "I love Mets fans." Because every time I see Mets fans, they already know. I don't even have to bag on them. Because the one thing a Mets fan know is that their team is going to Mets it up.
Yeah.
And, when you say that statement, Mets it up, they get it.
Sure.
Mets fans understand.
No, that's like when you say the Chargers are going to Charger. You're just like, yeah.
Yeah, we got the 16 million. Kentucky men basketball has officially named Mark Pope as its coach. Okay, good enough. And the feds accuse the interpreter of $16 million theft. Not the 40 million, just 16 million. I want to know what happened to the other 24 million in that.
I'm going to go with there is a dollar figure that amplifies the crime that they're pulling in just under.
Okay.
Right? Like I feel like I feel like if you went after the 40 mil, you're like, oh yeah, no, that's definite prison time. But maybe there's a window of where it can be like, well, for that number,
As long as you're under $16.2 million,
we'll
you know,
deport you and it won't be that big of a deal. But if it's more than that, you're going to prison here. I feel like that for that number to be out there, it seems like there's probably something tied to it that I don't know.
see, and I thought it was $500. $500 is the difference between petty larceny and grand larceny.
Yeah, but we're talking something far beyond that at this point.
Much, much. That's what I'm saying. When the feds offered, it's like, oh, 16.5 million. Hey, if it's at 16.5 million, that's now we have, felony 1. Maybe it's only felony 2 right now or something like that. It's
No, that's why I think there's some finesse to the law that they're playing with right now. I think is what's happening.
I did see Kirk Green's going to be back. I mean, is he going? I figured he's going to AAA for the moment, so they don't have to make that decision just yet. But they're going to be able to make a decision really soon. The pitchers, not all the pitchers are doing great right now, so there's going to be somebody who's going to be able to go down. I ain't worried about that, Robert. But Kirk Green he is strong. He is super strong, so I'm not really worried about that. Well, listen, guys, today we're only doing an hour show because I have a charity event that I have to go get ready for, and I am putting on some new paint today, so I want to be able to figure out exactly how I'm going to do this. This is not going to be a simple paint job, so we're only doing 1 hour today. So you're not going to see our old commercials today. You know what I mean? You're not going to see us go for the second hour. Unfortunately, we're going to call it quits and start our weekend early because, damn it, we deserve it.
That's right.
We have tried very hard to do all of the things that we need to do this week, and we made sure we pulled it through. You could listen to Bo. In fact, you could stay here and listen to Bo the entire time. He's not going to be here, though.
Yeah, no, that's the thing is I actually do have some errands to run today as well. So we are shutting it down early. But that being said, going into next week, I will have my full complement of shows back. So Hawk Talk, Between the Lines, the new show that we're going to be doing, Wednesday wrap up, and of course this all week. So lots of opportunity to view us here on Roku. And so next week is the full complement. All the shows come back.
Hey, any chance we're going to get your guy that you're going to be doing the show on here on our show to introduce him?
We could definitely make that work one of these days. Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, if he's available on Monday would be the perfect day to go ahead and introduce some new talent.
Yeah, I'll reach out to him actually as soon as we get off this show because I have some other questions for him anyway. And, I'll see if we can get him on for a little bit Monday morning.
Awesome. That'd be great. In the meantime, guys, everybody have a fantastic day. And I wish everybody a fantastic weekend. I hope everybody's team wins except the Mariners because I definitely want my pizza. And
the hell with that. We want the Mariners to win. And Rob, real quick for you, StatGuy is not in town. He had some stuff come up, so he's not here this weekend.
Yeah, there was that. That was part of the reason why he hasn't been here. Don't worry, he'll make it up to Seattle at some point.
Yep. Awesome.
So, but weekend, everybody have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday. Take care.